In the flow, I'm soaring high. Time fades away as I touch the sky. Every move is effortless, every thought is clear. In the flow, I'm right here. Floating on this river, carried by the tide. In the flow, forever I will ride.
Hey, Casey, thank you for joining us. We're just waiting for the song to be done so we can start our weekly discussion today. How are you?
I'm doing well. When are you going to start playing my songs, Ben?
Oh, that is your song. Excellent. I'm glad you like it. But yeah, we started
Dude,
a series, and I started to be a lot more creative, and I enjoy putting in the work. Yeah, it's only a couple of minutes, but it's take hours to produce. But I like it.
well, I'm guessing you don't read your comments yet because I've made comments on your songs on YouTube.
Yeah, I saw a couple, but then
Ah,
I
yeah.
was like, I don't know how to respond to that.
No
But thank you.
worries.
Thanks for
No
supporting
worries.
us.
I'm just trying to support you, my friend.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. So, is there anything new with you? How is the I don't know what the workshop and the seminar that you did?
Yeah, I finished that last weekend and it went great. Thank you for asking. The kids were just they're scholarship winners, but they're underprivileged children, and this group happened to be 18 to 21, and there was only 10. They were a select group. But boy, for coming in on a Saturday afternoon, it's hot, 2 to 7 o'clock, they were engaged, they asked questions, and I'll share in the chat the picture of them. We did vision boards to finish of their best life vision boards, and it went
Nice.
great. Thank you for asking.
Awesome. Yeah, it's always
Yeah,
nice to have a clear vision. And just by
yeah,
showing up, just hanging around like-minded people, I'm sure that that helped them a lot in their journey. So I
yeah.
appreciate
It was.
your work.
Thank you.
All right. Now, welcome everyone to our weekly discussion. And each week we will have a discussion at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is a journey that we are revisiting the happiness study material that we have learned in the MA in Happiness Study program. And during our program, we didn't have an opportunity to discuss these amazing material that Dr. Taban Shahar provided in his lecture. So we thought this is a really good way for us to learn from each other and also to exercise the 3 R's of change. And those are reminder, repetition, and ritual. And this is also a way for us to practice the spiral theory of knowledge, as in when we relearning or when we discuss these topics, we will understand it a little bit deeper each time. So thank you for joining us today. And this is not a lecture. This is just an open discussion, and I am very excited to share with you what I have learned. And again, this is a discussion that is based on the certificate in happiness study, the June cohort, which is a program from Dr. Tapan Shaha as well. And in this program, we have a really beautiful layout in order to understand happiness studies, the SMILE model, the 12 principle. So let's get to today topic, which week 10 on the second physical principle P2 part 1. A healthy life requires adherence to our given nature. I believe this is one of the most important uh, topic that we should be discussing when it's coming to happiness and well-being. So the first of the four-part lecture is on our nature adherence to natural law. And I think in this part of the lecture, we get to learn about Francis Bacon on his concept of adhering to nature. And that concept is first introduced in, I believe, in the early 1600s. And Bacon wrote that nature to be commanded must be obeyed. And what he meant is that we have to understand nature, and then we can be productive with it. And even though it might sound pretty straightforward in today's standard, his idea is very, very revolutionary for his time, because before the scientific revolution, right, before we see all of this amazing development in science, people used to view the world as a mystical, unpredictable place, governed by uh, God and the spiritual stuff rather than natural law. And this idea truly helped us understand the importance of understanding nature. And Bacon philosophy suggests two steps to the process. And again, it might sound very simple, but this is very profound. So the first part is understanding nature. And then the second part of it is adhering to it. And as simple as it sounds, is help us develop and comes up with many inventions. For example, we need to first understand the law of gravity and the principles of aerodynamic before we can construct flying machine. So by acknowledging the principle, acknowledging the law, we can come up with our ideas, and we can materialize those products. So by understanding it, it's very important, and then we can develop, we can make use of it. And this principle is not just for for science. We can also apply this to our well-being, right? We're going to understand um, how nature affects our well-being, and then we can adherence to nature to help us, cultivating well-being. So, what do you think about that? Before we go in further, because I think this point is extremely important. From my understanding, there are many applications, but in the sense of happiness, in the sense about well-being, we need to understand the law and the principle, and this is exactly what we are doing in happiness study, where we have the SPIRE model and the 12 principle that we can work on and cultivate happiness in many areas. So do you have any take on this before I go in further detail of how nature? Right. So when I first heard of Bacon's ideas, I uh, I didn't understand it, to be very honest. And then later on in our lectures, I uh, I heard he mentioned in this in a different setting, And what Dr. Tammins said is very, very profound. He said that by acknowledging reality, by understanding reality in this case, in nature, we can we can develop it, we can advance our understanding and apply those understanding to something useful, to something good. For example, let's say understanding the needs of having, let's say, a device, a handheld device that can do different things rather than having to carry a lot of different equipment. And I am talking about a smartphone, right? Because before before Apple introduced their iPhone, uh, we often have to carry around with us different tool, different equipment in order to do many different tasks. But since the invention of iPhone, we, we can just use a smartphone to do a lot of different things. So by understanding the need of having a handheld device like that, we can make it into a reality, and this can help elevate the quality of our life. So uh, this demonstrates the importance of understanding nature as in the need, the needs in this case for us, and we find a solution for it. In the case of Mr. Bacon, we pointed out that uh, we have to understand, let's say, the law of gravity and the principle of aerodynamic in order to build airplane, for example. So that is um, the bigger picture adherent to nature. But when it's come to psychology and personal growth, then we can combine Bacon's with Maslow growing tip statistic, which is also introduced in 10.1 in our nature. So Abraham Maslow is a prominent psychologist in the 1960s, and he proposed different approach to understand human potential. And one of it that was introduced in 10.1 is called the growth in tip statistic. So instead of just looking at different statistics to learn about, well, Jasmine said every time I heard of nature, I thought of Emerson. Yes, Emerson is another, I guess, great thinker that talk about nature and the importance of nature as well. So many great philosopher and writer often refer back to nature for what we should observe and learn from. But back to to Maslow growing tip statistic. So instead of just looking at an overall statistic, it is important to Maslow idea that we need to study the best example, as in the top, the best of the best, the greatest that ever done it in that field. For example, if we want to know how fast a human being can run, then it's not useful to average out the speed of the representative of, let's say, a small group of people, but instead we should look at top performing athlete, or let's say Olympic gold medalists, and see what they can achieve. And this approach doesn't just describe what a human can do, but it prescribes what we should strive for And speaking of this, it reminds me of the 3 mile, right? Mr. Roger Bannister, he was able to run 1 mile under 4 minutes, and we broke through the the limited belief that people had back in the 1950s. So instead of studying the average, we should look at the uh, the best of the best, and that can help us reach our highest potential. And this is why Maslow's idea was so revolutionary. And in his argument, um, Maslow said that human history is a record of ways in which human nature has been so short, because the highest possibility of human nature have almost always been underrated. So by focusing on the average, we miss out on understanding what truly is possible. So Maslow approach challenges us to raise our standards up and for excellence rather than settling for mediocrity. And I think this is very, very important, because a person can only grow when they get into that zone of I forgot the exact word, but there is a zone that we can get into the flow state. And that is where growth happens. So that zone can be different for different people. For example, uh, a professional athlete in track and field can run 1 mile under 4 minutes, but for me, it's probably gonna take me 30 minutes or maybe even 40 minutes. So instead of trying to run 1 mile under 4 minutes, I have to know where my limit is and try to grow from there. So everyone is different, and in understanding our nature, it's not just about uh, the universal, but it is also important to know oneself so that we can grow in our own way and focusing on what is important to us. So that is something that I found a lot of value on, and that is the universal versus particular nature that I also introduced at the very end of the slides that I share on screen here. So it is important to distinguish between the two types of nature, universal and particular. It's universal can refer to characteristic trails and needs that are common to almost all people, but for particular nature, it's referred to a unique characteristic trail and needs of an individual. So some people might want to do weightlifting more rather than running. Some people would like to exercise music more than painting. So we should focus on what we are interested in, and that is part of the importance of obeying our our nature, right? So I guess adhering to nature is not just a theoretical idea. It is a practical guide for living healthier, more fulfilling life by understanding and respecting both universal and particular aspect of our nature. We can work our way. We can unlock our full potential for both uh, physical and intellectual well-being. So this is, to me, a very, very important uh, not just idea, but it's almost like a principle for us to follow. We have to understand our nature and then adhere to it, and that's how we grow fully. All right, that is pretty much everything that I found interesting in 10.1. If you would like to comment on this, feel free to share before we move on to 10.2. So, well, the um, next part of the lecture is one that I am, uh, I guess, most exciting to share. That is the blue zone. I first heard of the blue zone or first read about it in 2009 in the book called The Owlier. My dad bought it for me back then, and I read it in Vietnamese, and I thought it was so amazing. And in the book by Malcolm Gladwell, I believe, yeah, he mentioned the blue zone, and the blue zone is a project that led by National Geographic researcher and writer Dan Butler. And they asked a very simple, but it is also a very profound question, which is what can we learn from the people who live the longest? By studying this community, we can identify and best practices the everything that can be good for our health and our longevity. And by learning from them, we can apply it to our own life so that we can also have those extraordinary outcomes. And this very much relate to what we discussed earlier in the previous section on Maslow growing tips statistic. So instead of just looking at an average everyday people, the blue zone researcher, they look at the the best at it, right? And in this case, they are looking at the zones in the world where people live considerably longer and healthier life than average. And Butler and his team identified several zones, including um, a place in Japan called Okinawa, and that is an island uh, located in Japan that have many people reached 100 years of age. And it was reported that people are a lot more likely to live longer than a person who live in the US. And they are less likely to experience heart disease. It is pretty amazing. All right. And then another area that was found was Sardinia in Italy. That is a mountainous region where people live healthier and they like to exercise, and I guess there's a lot of sardine there, so that's why maybe it's called Sardinia. Then in, there's a place Costa Rica, and then Loma Linda in California, right here in the US. We even have a small region of a community of Seventh-day Adventists, and people there seem to live a very good, very long life. They are not too far away from Los Angeles. Maybe just an hour drive. They in their research, they found that these community They are relatively isolated, and they often marry within their group, which initially people thought that their longevity is due to the genetic factor, but later on, after they follow the family tree, and they can see how people from those family tree who move away from the blue zone, they didn't receive the same uh, result, the same benefit. So um, gene is only account for about 25% of how long we live. And the researchers found out that the remaining 75 is determined by our lifestyle choices and environment. So there's a large factor that affect a person's physical well-being. And the lesson that we learn from the blue zone is the food that people eat, right? The exercise that they get, but most importantly, the community, the sense of community that they have in the zone. For example, Sardinian area, they have in that community, they are devout Christians, and their faith provide them a very strong sense of purpose. In California, the Seventh-day Adventists in Loma Linda, they their faith plays a central role in their lives, guiding their daily practices, and that providing them a sense of meaning. In Okinawan, they believe in the power of their dead ancestor, which grant them a sense of continuity and purpose. So having a purposeful life, as we discussed in the past 4 weeks, is a very important element to help a person live a healthy and purposeful life. So yes, sense of community is very important. Uh, you like to discuss that before we go to the physical nature of the blue zone, and explore further on their exercise and diet. Just type in the chat until now, not everyone know about the blue zone. Well, it is popular, but yes, not everyone knows about blue zone. Uh, Personally, I am not surprised, because getting people healthy is kind of against the money making system. So it is something that people do, I guess, quietly about it. It's not promote the way that it should be. So, but that is a different conversation. Well, in the blue zone, they exercise uh, naturally, right? They uh, they walk around more, and they are more hands-on with their work, and that help. Then another element is their diet, and their diet is primarily plant-based, unprocessed food, so rich with vegetable, fruit, whole grain, and that diet play a large uh, plays the key to their well-being. Sleep and rest is important too. That's another element that the researcher find in the blue zone, the blue zones. Uh, Yes, nutrition, exercise, and touch. It's 14 that we learn. Not sure if you learn it's in 10.2 or 10.3, but I would say yeah, nutrition later. But in short, the blue zone is a very, very important resource that help us understand fully the importance of 5 elements in the SPIRE model that we are learning for happiness study. For the spiritual well-being, the S in spiritual well-being, we find out that the blue zone citizen, they have purpose in their life, they have their faith and belief. Right, for physical well-being, we know that the people in the blue zone, they exercise and they eat right, they eat good food, good high nutrition food, as well as intellectual well-being. Um, well, I didn't consider this, but I know relational well-being is important. They have a high sense of uh, connect between the people and the people there because they have purpose, they have the community, their emotional well-being is great. And I believe that having purpose in life, having religious belief can definitely help someone uh, elevate their intellectual well-being. So in a way, I personally believe that there is a connection with the blue zone with the 5 element. So that is I guess one of the main point that I want to share. Let's come to your blue zones. If you have any other information that you would like to discuss, I am so open to that. Yes, the important thing here is also the moderation and balance because the lifestyle of the blue zone resident also share that balance in their everyday living. Yeah, right. Yeah, sensible for camera. She like to share a little bit before we move forward.
Yeah. Um, well, for this blue zone, I like to talk a lot. I mean, not talk a lot, but I like to share with other people about the blue zone when when I hear people like not complaining, but have like having no desire in life or having the same type job and no find no meaning in their life. So often I hear if people say something like that, I will share with them about the blue zone. And I like to share about the blue zone with other people because it has a documentary that they can find it on Netflix. But it's easy to find and it's easy to access. And even if they don't have Netflix, they have YouTube. And there's a lot of articles about it as well. So for information like this, um, is interesting to watch, and is and they understand the reason why having older parents or having grandparents are important, or like why they have to take care of their family member, and then the culture of like the family culture is really important as well. So and I also want to, I don't know why we have not go to Linda, where's the play in California?
Linda
But
Loma,
we,
California.
yeah, Linda, I don't know why we have not go there yet, but last time I did Linda Loma, I did a research in that town. They have the best I think they have the best kind of like medical schooling or something that related to holistic like medical schooling or like medical schooling there. And I thought that kind of makes sense because they have the people who live that it makes sense because that town is the one of the blue zone town in the world, one of the four blue zone world town that people can find, elderly people live there and then people live there happy. And they kind of have like a working system there that make everybody happy as well. So I feel like why don't we have a visit to Linda uh Lo Linda Loma once in our lifetime because since we live so nearby here and it's in California. Also I did other research um like about like builder like community builder here. So I find out that there's actually a large number of like the blue zone type in the US now compared to like before. Like they try to build the blue zone community in California, Oregon, and Washington. I don't know like who's the builder, but I did a quick research about that kind of like a couple months ago, and I found out there is a community. And I feel like if we can either live in a community or like can have a team of people who create that community. It doesn't need to call the blue zone. It can call like happiness zone or something like that, or it can call blue zone. Then we could be able to like expand that model, not just the US but globally. And I feel like everybody have done that as well now because people know about the blue zone and have like the marketing range. But we can always work on something like yeah. That's what I just want to share. Thank you
Yeah, I
for
did some
listening.
research on the Blue Zone project as well. So there are different cities all around the world um, that are implementing uh, the research done on Blue Zone. I think they have really good results. It just it don't get talked about enough, right? And now one of the point that I share on the PowerPoint is the idea of closeness to nature. So the Blue Zone residents live close to nature, both in their surrounding and their lifestyle. So I think the difference here is that because of their uh, geography, uh, because of their location, they actually able to avoid many of the harmful habits of modern living, like processed food and their you know different influences on the lifestyle. So even though the resources are there, it's just they are barrier for entries, and it's just the readiness of processed food. At least here in the U.S., play a huge role in making the blue zone happen. Personally, I think uh, the business of keeping people sick and unhealthy, uh, you know, it's kind of hard to fight against that. Uh, I guess pharmaceutical. So at least that is my point of view. It's kind of hard to implement it in a larger scale. But at the same time, I think it is important for us to be informed on this information so that we can help ourselves and our family and loved one. to be aware of this information. And then knowing about it is one thing, applying it and do it is another. So even like me myself, I'm still working on it now and try to work a little bit harder, as in like work out, exercise and be a little bit healthier. Uh, Even though I know that it's kind of hard to because like what Kyle said, don't bring the enemy home. But when we go out, when we want to have the convenience of, let's say, 7-Eleven or fast food like McDonald's and Wendy, it's kind of hard to eat healthy when we are surrounding ourselves with that. So I guess if I guess knowing these elements, we have to build an environment so that we can apply this law and principle and practices. And this is one of the point that I feel like not everyone understands, right? The importance of the environment, the importance of support that we need in our personal development. And I hope that ASA and all the community can do this, can bring people together where we remind ourselves, right, the 3 R's of change that we are doing now, reminder, repetition, and ritual. We have to constantly remind ourselves of this teaching so that we can apply it, and then we make it into a ritual that are applying by a community of people or not just 1 or 2 people. So great point, and I think we are making a difference. So thank you everyone for joining us. I know that many of you are from Vietnam and it's like morning time there. Thank you for joining us. Casey raised his hand. Feel free to share, Casey.
Well, I feel like this is a good time to mention one of the quotes that I love to use is from Thich Nhat Hanh, from your own beloved Vietnam, and the Buddhist monk who, among other things, so you guys have the song "No Mud, No Lotus," I think is the title, and is it something like that? But that's the name of his book, right? And maybe that's where the idea came from. I don't know. But the quote that I love, and I'm paraphrasing it, and Ben, you and I have had this discussion about intentional communities and how I studied with an online eco village design course with the global GEN, Global Eco Village Network. And but anyway, and so it is a growing movement. There's a lot of elements to get into, but I'm going to just quote Thich Nhat Hanh, and what he said was the next Buddha may very well be a community. In other words, just not one enlightened being, but a community of enlightened beings. And I'll step off the mic.
Thank you, Casey. And I think that is an amazing reminder because that's to show the importance of community in any movement. And I think it will be easier to have that kind of like environment, a community of like-minded people who practice and exercise the same thing. An image that I have in my mind is like a candle, right? As you can see, we have the name lit for our channel and for our Zoom, and lit is printed like lit up, right? Lit up the candle, and I always have this image of a candle lighting up the world. And if we were to be by ourselves, right, a wind can take away the flame. But if we are together, the wind can still happen, but we can lit each other back up. And I feel like that is the key to to shine the light here, to lit up this this dark word, I guess. A little bit kind of like negative, but for some reason that image stuck in my mind for the longest time. And I hope that we can be a part of that community or even like help building that community. I see in many wonderful community out there, like the Plume Village, as Casey mentioned, and many other. I just happiness studies community is one of the many. I'm sure there will be this time that we will stand together. Great reminder. Thank you everyone for that. And, well, Blue Zone is wonderful. I guess I'll spend a couple more minutes on this before we move on to 10.3 to talk about nutrition. Pretty boring for me to talk about nutrition, but I think it is important. But before we do that, I would like to mention about the Blue Zone project. I think one of the city here in the U.S. Uh, asked Dan Butler and the Blue Zone team to help increase the level of happiness in the city. And in that project, Dan gave a recommendation of investing on a little lake in that city and created. And I forgot the name. I just know the story. It's probably in Illinois, like Casey said. So pretty much they invested, they put out some funding, they spent some money making a local lake into like a park, and that changed everything because people now have a place to jog, right, exercise. So people are healthier because they are exercising more, and then people was gathering and around the lake to exercise. So that helped people have the opportunity to communicate, to get to know their neighbors better, get to know their community better. And people have a place to, I would imagine, doing a barbecue or a picnic, and that that changed everything from relational well-being to physical well-being, emotional, even spiritual and intellectual. So just one thing, very small, providing the opportunity for people to gather, or even like a platform like what we are doing right here, right now, right? I think that is very good for building a community like Blue Zone, or put more Blue Zone on the map. So I would like to mention that real quick before we move away from the topic of Blue Zone. Just like Jasmine mentioned, we have many wonderful documents on Blue Zone. So it is quite readily available for those who are looking. And, I think it's definitely important that we know something about the Blue Zone project. All right. So moving on to 10.3, nutrition. I think nutrition is very underrated, and I think people are still questioning the importance of nutrition, and there are many different type of I guess what is the word? But I guess like supplement. Yes, supplement nutrition. The this pure form that I see people take like vitamins that help them. Some people make fun of it, but I know if there's an important of it too. So in 10.3, we learn more about nutrition, and it is very complex and very con controversial, and there are many conflicting advices. So I guess gotta do what best for each of us. And I think the important thing about nutrition is that we uh, we want to we want to adhere to nature. We want to understand nature as the second physical principle stated. Uh, Looking at the blue zone, we know the importance of eating organic food, right? And avoid processed food. So in 10.3, we learn more about the impact of nutrition on health, and we get to learn about David Cernan. I couldn't spell his last name, but he wrote the book The Instant to Heal, and he analyzed the history of medicine in the 20th century. And yes, I think Casey say something in the chat. Blue zone, yep. Nutrition is very much scientifically informed practice that requires moving from informed research to research. Yep, everyone is different. Definitely agree on that. So, right. But going back to 10.3. Diet is very important. Eating right is very important. And I think the I wouldn't call it the lack of understanding in the US, but I believe in the around the 1950 there was a battle between the sugar industry and let's just call it the non-sugar industry that focusing on more like fat. And I think the sugar industry did something to blame all of the heart disease causes to fat, and somehow they was promoting sugar product processed food and stuff like that, and it's played such a negative effect on uh, American health in general. And I didn't know how bad it was until I came over here in 2003. And within only 12 months, I have gained so much weight from living here in the US. And when I came back to Vietnam in 2009, my parents couldn't even recognize me. And in Vietnam, everybody is very like slim and skinny. I wasn't even that fat. It was very noticeable, and I didn't do anything different. I tried to eat healthy, but I think the type of food that we have here, the processed food, and what is readily available to us, play a huge influence on our well-being. So knowing about nutrition and knowing the how harmful sugar can be, I guess one of the biggest advice that I would give to anyone is to eat less sugar. Since sugar is everywhere, it is better to avoiding it and eating more of it. But of course, this 10.3 is not just about sugar, it is about nutrition and how we need to adhere to our nature or our natural dietary needs. And as Casey mentioned, everyone is different, but we can all agree that we want to avoid processed food, and And we can see the importance of whole food. And then I remember how once mentioned how, you know, how good it is to eat nut, because from this one seed, it has enough nutrition to grow into a tree. So it's the nutrition in there is very dense. So we want to invest more on whole food and avoid sugar and toxic chemical from processed food. Casey also shared that most of the misinformation in this that is negatively affecting American citizens is a matter of lobbying efforts by uh, big pharma. Yes. Corn and sugar has been snuck into almost every form of processed food. Yes, I learned of this, and it was so shocking. And would you like to tell us more about this? Because uh, I kind of get emotional when I think of this, because the world look up to the U.S. for answer, and because of misinformation, processed food is everywhere. People make a tons of money selling sugar, and growing up, I didn't have like that many product, but now when I went back to Vietnam to visit, I can see that processed food is everywhere as well. Yeah, sugar is can create addiction. It's it's really bad. It's pretty much uh, a form of drug, in my opinion, because people get addicted. It's just terrible. Sugar feed like cancer cells and all of it, all kind of problems of that of having too much sugar. But yeah, avoid processed food. There's a lot of sugar in there. There are a lot of different toxic chemical in food, right? They say it's safe to consume, but when you are eating too much, it's all adding up, and it was not good for your health. So when it's come to nutrition, we want to have whole food, and we want to have moderation in the food that we eat. Looking at the blue zone, we want to eat more fruit and vegetable, right? Adhering to nature, because I read a research somewhere said that in fruit and vegetable there are tons of antioxidant that promote health and longevity. Uh, Tomato, for example, great fruit vegetable to to eat, delicious, and it's very good for your health. It can help fight cancer in some case. We do risk of prostate cancer, and then peas and bean. As I mentioned earlier, the seed. It has a lot of nutrition. Uh, peas and bean. I think there's a research show that is reduce the risk of colon cancer by 30 to 40%. Uh, this can prevent heart disease, stroke, all of that good stuff. So we want to introduce organic or just brightly colored fruit and vegetable into our diet, like blueberry, strawberry, apple, plum, the other. They have a lot of antioxidant that is shown to prevent cancer, heart disease, and other serious condition. You don't even have to go for costly and expensive product like strawberry or blueberry. Banana is very good too. Oranges, something even as simple as lime and lemon will give you great source of natural vitamin C. And like what Jason mentioned earlier, I do not know why something as simple as this are not mainstream. Right? I believe that yes, you can just introduce some lemon and maybe some honey into our life that can greatly improve a person's health, boost their immune system, and all of that good stuff. Uh, in 10.3, we talk a lot about nutrition. I think it is also important to mention that we need to do everything in moderation. So it is okay to enjoy food once in a while too, right? So I like pizza. I don't eat it every day, but I do treat myself like once a month, once every 2 weeks, and some other food. So I think everything in moderation is very, very important. So yes, try to eat healthy, at the same time, try to live as well. I think it is okay to enjoy food once in a while, processed food, and that's all I have for 10.3. Yes. I don't want. I feel I don't have too much information, and this is such a big topic to discuss. So if anybody want to share and to expand from this topic, we could. Oh, yes, Casey, please.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, well, it's funny, Ben. I often make fun of myself and say I'm not Tall's best student academically, but I think I even shared this thought with you one time. But I'm one of his most embodied practitioners of what his teachings are. So when I was in pretty good shape when I started studying with Tall back in 2014 in his original positive psychology certification class. But and then I just to be honest with you, with everyone on this call, my life went to hell in a hay basket, as they say, and I just made a lot of bad choices with food. I was traveling for business all the time, very hard to eat well on the road. Anyway, I converted later in 2020. I started to come back, and really in the last 18 months. So I don't know if most people on this call think in terms of pounds or kilos, but in the terms of pounds, I spent most of my life in between 240, 250 pounds. I had a 38-inch, that's a lie because I had to suck in my gut to fit into 38-inch pants. And I weigh about 5 pounds more than I did in college. I'm down to about low 180s, which means I lost 22 to 25 kilos in the last 18 months from eating plant-based primarily, organic when possible, locally sourced, with some fish, some chicken mostly, but eliminating as much processed as I can. I definitely still have some processed foods, but very minimal as much. I probably went from 80% processed to less than 10% processed now. And the results are amazing. It's just the nest works. And I joke and I say to people, you know why the most effective book on improved health has never been written? And the answer is because it's only 4 words long. Exercise more, eat better. And it's, you can get into the nutrition. And now I'm dialing into the nutrition. I'm learning about things like nitric oxide and all sorts of different antioxidants and superfoods. And particularly since I'm living in Central America and Mexico right now, I have so much easy access to amazing vegetables and tropical, subtropical fruits. Anyway, it works, people. And I'm very into intermittent fasting. Jason, I think his name, Dr. Jason Jung, It's like JUNG, has great information on fasting. David Sinclair, Harvard researcher, is another one. Andrew Huberman from the Huberman podcast, the Huberman Lab. Those guys have great information on fasting. And I do mostly now, I'm doing 16 to 20 hour fast 6 days a week with one 24-hour fast. And I'll tell you, it's easy. The fat just melts right off of you. So anyway, you've heard enough from me.
I have a quick question before you go though.
Sure. Sure.
Do you eat less when you go more to a locally sourced, or do you eat the same but you just change the type of food?
I would say a combination of both, because sometimes while I was in the process of losing fat, and now I should have done the opposite way. I should have built up muscle while I was losing fat, but I just lost a lot of fat, and now I'm where I want to add muscle now. And it's not like I want to be I just want to be toned and healthy, like yoga body. But the answer is both. When you're trying to lose weight, definitely you need to be at a caloric deficit, and you need to exercise, whatever your form of exercise may be, and enough movement that you're burning more calories than you're consuming. But I'll tell you, the quantity of food, when you're eating healthier foods, you can eat more. You can eat more, definitely bigger salads. And the funny thing is, your brain picks up on it. After you eat salads for 10 days, my brain doesn't say, oh, you need a burger, you need pizza, you need ice cream. It says, oh, isn't it time for some fruit and salad? You know, that's that your brain just gets into it and your body wants it. Your body knows what it prefers for sure. But you can, I said this last week, it's, your brain is a horrible master and a wonderful servant. And when we teach it what we want and retrain our brains, you get a beautiful results. That's for sure. So I hope I answered your question.
Yep, you did. Thank you so much for that. And I love the idea of master your brain, master your mind, not be a servant to it. I was pretty much given to my desire when it's come to food. After I've done a good, like let's say 2 weeks to a month, I start to think about delicious, unhealthy food that I should give myself a break. And then a lot of time, if not all the time, it's went downhill from there. It's one lead to another. So, and I work in restaurant business too. So I know you also have background in restaurant. And about 10, 15 years ago, when I was pretty much very much into the business, I had this one really, really bad idea. I thought to myself, I was giving myself excuses to eat unhealthy. And I thought to myself that I was young and healthy. So my body is very healthy. I should take this opportunity to enjoy all of the good food I can enjoy, because when I get older, my body won't be able to process all of this food. So I should enjoy it now. And it was a terrible mistake that now that I realize it's gave me a really bad habit when it's come to eating. So,
Well, if I could add one more thought, Ben, I would say, I got on so at 38, I was told by a doctor, well, your body really thinks it's 43. And when did your dad die? Oh, at 63. Guess what? You go on this course, drinking too much, eating bad foods, you're going to die about the same age. And if that's what you want, that's what you'll get. I can tell you now that in 2 months, I will have lived to an extra year past my father. And, the shape that he was in at 63 versus the shape that I'm in now, completely different. I'm definitely easily in better shape than I was in my mid 30s. And the beautiful thing is, and I abused my body for 20 plus years, more than that, with alcohol and processed sugars. And I'm happily here to report that, and don't put it off, like Ben said, but at the same time, the body is resilient and it's a beautiful thing. The doctors don't heal us. We heal ourselves. Our body heals ourselves. We just have to listen to the doctor's good advice. And anyway.
I love it. And I love how you end with good advices because doctor can give bad advice too, you know, like part of the system. And it's a sad reality. And I had so much doubt at first when I first heard of it. But the more I looked into it and the reality pretty much in front of me, you know, it's such a sad state where pharmaceutical company had their hands on everything, and that's affect a respectable profession like doctor, pharmacist, and yeah, you know what I mean, I think. But you know, it is the important of us having this platform, having a community, so we can remind ourselves to live a healthy life. And thank you so much for your story. It's very inspirational because sometimes, you know, I'm still young. I'm only like 37. Sometimes I was like, man, I make such a bad move when I was younger, you know, partying too much, eating too much, drinking too much, and every other thing in between. And now I started to feel that it's starting to hurt. But I think I should take action now, as I mentioned to Jasmine. You know, I have done this before, and I just need to commit to it and do it in moderation. And I think you are in such an amazing health, you know, beautiful smile, great energy, very sharp mind, and I love it when you are present in the student. So thank you for everything. Okay, I guess moving on to the last part of the lecture. We let's see, we have about 15 minutes left. So I would like to share this real quick before we end our discussion today. So as Casey mentioned earlier, eating right is very good, but we have to implement that with exercise as well, because in the research of Blue Zone, it showed the importance of the exercise as well, right? People who live in in the Blue Zone, they exercise naturally. Uh, they find way to move around because our body is desire to move around. But in the modern day, we have the luxury of, you know, have food ready in the supermarket. And you can just drive there in our car and pick up some food. In the Blue Zone, people have to walk around. They do a lot of work that are very labor intensive. So the key to live a long and healthy life, to get to that centenarian group of the Blue Zone, is to having a proper exercise, right? Because even in the past, our ancestors have to find food and run away from danger. And that wasn't too long ago. This was only a few hundred years ago, I believe. But today, we don't have to move around too much, so it is important for us to exercise, to take a step and in working out and exercise and all of that good stuff. We need to make that conscious decision to exercise more. And in 10.4, we learn more about the importance of exercise and how it can help with our baseline well-being. It can help uh, with many many other problems that can comes up. And one of the most mesmerizing exercise that I've learned in the MA program is the high intensity interval training exercise. It's also called the HIIT exercise. So I first learned about this from my brother, who is a doctor in Australia, and he was the one that introduced me to in intermittent fasting and HIIT exercise, the 7 minute workout challenge. So I did that combination in 2 weeks, and I was very healthy. I think I lost like 15 pounds in 2 weeks. I was very healthy. So high intensity interval training, or it's also called HIIT exercise, is very popular in these recent years. And it is an exercise that involved in intense exercise followed by a period of rest or lower intensity activity. Casey mentioned one exercise influencer I have followed is Athlete X. He recommend only 2 HIIT, 20 to 30 minutes a week. I agree with that. I don't know who he is, but I definitely check him out. Thank you, Casey. But yeah, one of the biggest barrier to wellness is the idea of spending time at the gym 2 3 hours a day. That's what I did back in 2016 when I was living in SoCal, California. And my cousin was very motivated back then, and me and him went to the gym every single day. We were so committed, 2 to 3 hours of like really intense workout because we pay for a really good gym. We have a coach to help with us. We did all of those like weightlifting and cardio. It was too much. I think I got injured once, and then that was it. About the exercise, we did it for a good 2 months, but 20 to 30 minutes, 2 times a week with high intensity interval training is good enough, and we can actually do it everywhere. There are so many good exercise that we can try. So HIIT exercise or high intensity interval training is actually a research study, or many research study has done on this exercise, and it showed great result. So like 24% reduction in insulin resistance. And it also show great result when it's come to fitness and movement from people who've done it regularly, how it avoid or reduce the risk of heart disease, and even taking 15 to 20 steps more a day can help improve your health greatly. So besides exercising, if we can just consciously make exercise a little bit more readily available to us, then that can greatly help us with our health. And one of the trick or way to exercise more is inconvenient ourselves. So for example, when you go to the grocery store, instead of parking route
每giờ
closest
chiều đi ra mới
as
về nha.
possible, then you can actually park further, inconvenient yourself so that you have the opportunity to walk a little bit more carrying the grocery. So little thing like that just improve your movement and giving you more opportunity to exercise and they show that by doing those activities it it help improve the quality of life greatly even as little as just walking a little bit more each time you go to the grocery. And again, everyone is different, so we want to personalize our exercise routine. And some people might want to spend 2-3 hours, as I mentioned earlier. I did it back in 2016, but I cannot do that now. So to hit exercise 20 to 30 minutes a week, that is very doable. And we have to make sure that it works for us, and we can also do exercise that we enjoy, like swimming or dancing or play sport, play tennis, for example. That could be a great way to add more activity in our weekly exercises. Yes, in 10.4, those are the important point that I have learned from. So it's very, very important, but I think it's still little boring to me to talk about exercise and nutrition, but it is part of the discussion for this week. So I just want to mention a few things that I find interesting. I wonder if anyone want to add a little before we end today's discussion. For the end of today.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, Jasmine.
Um, I for the exercise and also nutrition, I'm kind of big uh both of that just because I used to spend a lot of time when I was in my early 20s to do exercise a lot. And it's just because, I only have school and a part-time job, have nothing to do beside all of that. So I spend a lot of time to like walking in the nature and also like going to the gym. However, I did not have a good nutrition back then because I did not understand about nutrition and eating healthy. I'm not like a food eater, so I'm very easy when it comes to food. And I feel like doesn't matter what we do, we have to have all, not just one or the other one. So if we do a lot of exercise and we don't eat right, it's not healthy for our body. And if we eat a lot, like good food, whole food, um, like good supplement, but we don't exercise, and it's not healthy for our body either, because our body now doesn't burn energy; it's only consume energy. Um, and so supplement and nutrition also help me a lot. And I know, like Casey mentioned earlier, that all of this it has to be custom made for each person because everybody is different. And I agree with you. But I feel like the reason why we learn about the nature, blue zone, nutrition, exercise, it all makes sense to me now. It's because, if we do one but don't do the other one, and or we do like couple but we are missing one, it's not a complete picture. It has to be um like the whole ecosystem, it has to be like everything. So So in order for us to be a whole person well-being, we have to, exercise, eating right, sleep right, resting, and going out to the nature. Not just like staying inside the room and expect that we will be healthy and happy all the time. So that is my realization. Thank you, Anne and everybody. Interesting.
Thank you, Jasmine. Well, we reached the end of our discussion, and as usual, I would like to play a song for everyone. And we have been making this song for Happy to Study, and I kind of want to ask Casey what he would like to listen to, or have you have a chance to check out all of our newer song, Casey? You're still on mute, by the way.
Yeah, it was on mute. I haven't heard all of the new ones, I don't think. So I'll just go with play what one of the new ones you like. Can keep me happy.
Yeah, I
Keep me
focus
happy,
more
Ben.
on
It's your
the.
responsibility.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And the latest one, I like it a lot.
Likewise.
So let's go ahead and play that, and maybe we can discuss this a little bit. And, yes, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Let's enjoy this song, "Whole Being Harmony." There's all the good songs here, but this is the latest one. So.
In the silence of our minds we find a path where peace and joy align, a journey through the heart and soul, where happiness becomes the goal.
Let's cultivate the seeds of joy so deep. In the spire of life, our dreams don't sleep. Spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, all shining bright.
Being is the way we go, a harmony that life bestows. In every step we find our peace, through every breath our doubts release. Happiness, the way we grow, a harmony that life bestows. In every step we find our peace, through every breath our doubts release.
Happiness, the ultimate end. In every moment, let's transcend. With purpose clear, we start anew. A life of love in all we do.
Through learning deep we find our way. In wisdom's light we greet each day, with hearts that give and minds that share. We find our joy in being there.
Connection strong, we build our ties. In laughter, tears beneath the skies. For each bond our spirits rise, to reach the heights where joy resides.
Let's take the time to breathe, reflect. In every thought let's reconnect to the source where happiness lies. In whole being, let's rise, let's rise.
Happiness, the ultimate end. In every moment, let's transcend. With purpose clear, we start anew. A life of love in all we do.
Embrace the pain, the joy, the strife. They're all a part of this rich life. In every trial there's a key to unlock our serenity.
A journey through the mind and heart, where every day's a brand new start. Aspire as our guiding light. We walk in peace, we shine so bright. In the silence of our minds we find a path where peace and joy align. A journey through the heart and soul, where happiness becomes the goal.
this rich life. In every trial there's a key to unlock our serenity. The goal.
All right, that is it. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you, Casey, for supporting us. Not only the weekly discussion, but also, you are the inspiration for us to start this music. Yeah, there was some echoes, so that's why I couldn't hear your rattling, but I'm sure it will be amazing. Um, but yeah, I am very happy with this song. I think they are very meaningful and they are quite good. So hopefully we can, improve each and every song, and we might get this professionally reproduced one day when the time is right. So, all right. Okay. We'll see you next time. Thanks again. Yes, Melaluna has already credit. Yeah. All right. Love you, everyone. See you next time. Bye bye now.